Hello and welcome back to the New Wave Nerds. Make sure you like and subscribe down below for more nerd content and commentary. I am Brennan Sem, and today we're going to be taking a look at the film Kokuho. This is directed by Song-il Lee and written by Satoko Okudera and Shuichi Yoshida, and it stars Ryo Yoshizawa, Ryusei Yokohama, and Mitsuki Takahata with Ken Watanabe. Now, based off of those names, I'm sure you can tell that this is a Japanese film. Of course, this is not... I'm going to mispronounce the names. That is not a sign of disrespect. In fact, I really enjoyed this movie a lot, so I'm going to apologize in advance for any names that I undoubtedly say wrong. Make sure you comment down below what you thought of Kokuho if you've seen it. I very much enjoyed it, and so with that, let's head into the beginning section, a non-spoiler review. The first thing I have to say is that this movie was absolutely amazing. I came into this knowing that it was going to be pretty good, considering the fact that it was Japan's official entry into the Academy Awards. I did not expect to be blown away quite like I was. I'm so glad that I was able to see this movie. Shout out to the Marcus Majestic on Maple Street in Omaha. Shout out to them for screening the movie. I had such a good time watching it. It is a bit long. It comes in at 3 hours. But you don't really feel it, especially if you don't mind watching subtitles or reading subtitles, then I cannot recommend this movie enough. It was so interesting. The plot is in post-war Japan's economic boom, gangster family-born Kikuo Tachibana finds himself adopted by a kabuki actor. Despite life's challenges, he develops into a gifted performer. And that's the bare bones of it. There's much more to this movie than just that. It is really a story about this person, Kikuo, trying to become the greatest kabuki theater performer in the history of Japan. It is laid out so well. It's so surprisingly easy to follow considering the time jumps here. We start in 1964 or 65 and we end in 2014. And the way that it makes sense and the way that you can really follow it is through Kikuo's relationships with the people in his life, with the kabuki actor who adopts him, with his adoptive brother, and his love interest. I'm going to say that's all I'll say since we're in the non-spoiler section. This film really hinges upon the relationships of the characters in this movie. It is written so well. I do believe it is based on a novel. I don't know if I can pull it up quick enough. I think the novel was written by the second name that I said. Shuichi Yoshida. I'm really interested. I kind of hope there's a translation of the novel available because the story was so fascinating. This film really gave me an appreciation that I didn't have for kabuki theater. I didn't really know much about kabuki theater at all. I'd obviously heard the term because it is one of those things that, at least in past generations, sort of became a colloquialism, but it has a different connotation. And actually being able to see some of these performances and the love and respect that they are performed with, the attention to detail, is absolutely amazing. If you have the opportunity to see it, you really should. But with that, let's get into the spoiler section here. The first thing that I really have to talk about is the relationship between the main character Kikuo and his adoptive brother, Shunsuke Ogaki. I'm very sorry, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But the dynamic between these two is so fascinating. Seeing them start out vaguely at odds in the beginning, but swiftly becoming fast friends and rehearsing and practicing together so that they can be the best that they can be and not let down their father figure, who is played by Ken Watanabe, Hanjiro Hanai II. It's really fascinating, and the way that progresses throughout the movie is so heartfelt. It is incredible. I've said this to everybody who I've talked to about this movie. It actually made me tear up in a couple moments. And that doesn't happen often, especially not in movies. And that's not me trying to come forward and be like, oh, I'm too much of a man. I don't cry at movies. I don't really care. It doesn't happen. But this movie, there were 2 or 3 moments where I found myself choking up a little bit because the performance and the writing is so well. There's so much depth to these characters. It's absolutely amazing. And the relationship between these two as it progresses is really the emotional center of the movie. Obviously, Kikuo has a love interest in the beginning named Haruo Fukuda, played by Mitsuki Takahata. Halfway through again, we're in the spoiler section here. Halfway through the movie, the entire balance of this relationship shifts. Kikuo is selected to take over for Shunsuke's father, Ken Watanabe, as the main heroine of one of the kabuki theater performances. Love Suicide, I believe it's called. And Shunsuke is really broken up about that, right? Because he is the legacy. He is the son. He is supposed to be Hanjiro Hanai III. It's supposed to be him. He's been performing since he was a toddler. But Kikuo gets chosen instead. And Shunsuke is, like I said, he's obviously broken up about it, but he does try to be supportive. He tries to be there for his friend, even comforting him when Kikuo is breaking down a little bit in the dressing room. But after seeing the performance and seeing how well Kikuo is performing, Shunsuke breaks down in the theater and he has to leave halfway through the performance. And Haruo sees this and follows him out, and he says to her that he wants to be a real performer. And the two of them leave together, abandoning Kikuo. Now, this is something that I was unaware of. Again, I'm not very familiar with kabuki theater traditions. I didn't know where we were coming from, but apparently it is a very family-oriented, traditional structure, a very family-structured, family-oriented industry. Not unlike they produce family content, but there's a line in here when Ken Watanabe is on his last legs, let's say, and he's talking to Kikuo, and he's like, you are going to succeed me. You are going to become the leader of this house, and people are going to discount you because unless your father is a kabuki theater actor, they don't care about you at all. And again, Kikuo was born into a Yakuza family, and he was adopted by Hanjiro after his father was killed. So Kikuo is a nobody, but he is an incredibly, incredibly gifted actor. And in his dying moments, Hanjiro gives him this charge where he is like, you have to be the best that you can absolutely be. And that is what will drive Kikuo throughout the rest of the movie. His drive to be the best is ultimately what leads to the majority of the heartache and the challenges that he faces. He loses his girlfriend. He loses his best friend. He will eventually lose the entire house of, is it Tanyaba? I don't remember, unfortunately. I think that is what essentially the kabuki theater company is called. I'm not going to be able to find it quick enough. Not necessarily the most important factor about this. It even leads to a moment when Kikuo has a child with a separate woman who's not Haruo. They are wandering through the streets, and he stops at a shrine and he prays. And this is another powerful moment of the film. I think it even shows up in the trailer. The daughter comes up and says, "Oh, you're asking God for a lot." And Kikuo goes, "I wasn't talking to God. I was asking the devil to make a deal, and it was struck." And at that point, everything in Kikuo's life begins to sort of fall apart. Hanjiro Hanai dies as Kikuo takes the name of Hanjiro Hanai III when he fully succeeds Ken Watanabe and becomes the leader of this company. And eventually, obviously, he will lose the company through some scandals that get revealed. And it's incredibly, incredibly powerful. And then, sorry, I got on this point originally because I was talking about the relationship between these two. When Shunsuke eventually returns, he returns into the spotlight and sort of becomes his own kabuki theater performer and starts getting leading roles. And Kikuo can't get a leading role for anything. It's really, really interesting when eventually Kikuo will come back after abandoning I think it's Tanyaba. I'm sorry, I might be wrong about that. He will eventually leave the company, giving it back, and then he will return, and him and Shunsuke will have this this really interesting sort of progression where they come back and they're really at odds, but then eventually they perform together and it's really, really powerful. And you can see that even though they've lost however many years of their life together because they were both too prideful in their own way, they can still be best friends. They can still essentially be brothers. And again, it's because of how well that relationship is performed and written that this movie really, really lands. It's because of that. This is the true with any movie, but especially one like this, which is an incredibly, incredibly human tale about a person's journey through life. The relationships are the most important factor. The rest of the movie could be absolutely amazing, but if the interactions between Kikuo and Shunsuke or the performances weren't there, I would not be speaking as highly about this movie as I am now. It's truly, truly amazing. I do also want to discuss the whole kabuki theater aspect just a little bit. I've already mentioned before how I was really unfamiliar with the entire process, the entire culture and tradition and history. I was unfamiliar with all of it, and to be able to see it performed in this way was really, really fascinating. The set direction for every performance was impeccable. The costume design, the hairstyling, even the performances. Now, the kabuki theater performances are not what you might consider like a traditional Western theater performance, because in kabuki theater, women were forbidden from performing, and so all of the female roles were performed by men, which I believe were called onagata. And so because, the male playing the female is a time-honored tradition even in Western cinema and Western theater. It's a standard trope, but the spin about it here is that in most Western theater productions or films, if the man is playing the role of a woman, it is played purely for comedy. But here, the onagata has to operate at the highest level of drama. And because you're putting on the affectation of a woman, sometimes the voice, it's very different, let's say. And the articulation and the cadence with which you speak is very, I don't want to use this term because it, again, has negative connotations, but I don't mean it negatively. It sounds very foreign to the ears of somebody who has only seen, Shakespeare, let's say. It's very different, but it's really amazing. And shout out to Ryo Yoshizawa, he's the main character, Kikuo, so he is supposed to be, we will eventually become the greatest kabuki theater performer in all of Japan. It is performed amazing. There is so much nuance, both in his performance as himself and as the performance in the actual kabuki theater. It is really, really incredible. I was completely engrossed. Like, the movie is 3 hours long, but I didn't feel like I had been sitting there for 3 hours. The only thing that took me out of the movie has nothing to do with the actual film itself. It has to do with the environment in which I saw it. There were some people in the theater who really brought down the experience of it, and I'm just going to leave it there. They were very annoying, and I'm not going to say that they were overly loud. It wasn't like that. It isn't like I was seeing the Minecraft movie or even a Minions movie. The crowd was not like that, but it was a very limited audience in the theater, and so anything that anybody did or said was really aware to everybody else in the theater. But apart from that, I was completely engrossed in the movie. It was absolutely amazing, and I'm a little irritated. I completely understand it. But I do want to look at the Academy Awards here to take a look at some of the nominees, because, and of course I'm biased because I haven't seen any of the other international feature nominees. This is the only one that I've actually been able to watch. But I do think it's a bit of a travesty, not a tragedy, a travesty that the only award for which this film was nominated was hairstyling and makeup, I believe. I'm trying to find it quick here. Yes, makeup and hairstyling. I had the order reversed. That's my bad. That's the only category for which the film was nominated, and I think that's absolutely insane. It didn't even make it into the best international feature category, which makes me really mad. I'm sure that the rest of these movies are really great, but it just this movie was so good and so fascinating that I don't know how the other movies on this list could really top it. Now, of course, I said I'm biased because this is the only one that I've seen. This is the only one I've had the opportunity to watch. But it was just so phenomenal. And, you know, I said, I understand why you might not nominate best actor or supporting actor or actress or writing or directing or whatever, because most of the time international films do not get those what's the word I'm looking for? Nominations. I don't know why that was so difficult, but let's just take a look at Best Picture here. So obviously we have Begonia, F1. Now I haven't seen F1. I know a lot of people like F1, but my gut is telling me it's not really a Best Picture type of movie. My gut's just telling me that. I know a lot of people like it. I'm not saying it's bad, but just based off of vibes and instincts, I'm going to say it's probably not a Best Picture pick. We also have Frankenstein, Hamnet, which haven't seen it, but from what I've heard, makes perfect sense. Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another. The Secret Agent, which is another film that is in the Best International Feature category. And Sentimental Value, which I could be wrong, but I'm also certain is another international film. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm incorrect about that. But in any case, The Secret Agent is in the Best Picture category. I don't know. I just think Kokuho deserves a little bit more than just makeup and hairstyling, you know? But that's just me. I'm biased. If you see it, if you get the opportunity to see it, if you've seen any of the other Best International Features films, then let me know down in the comments, because I would like to see them. I would really like to, because I'm really fascinated. I like a good international film. I've spent a lot of time watching Japanese. One of my might not be one of my favorites anymore. At least one of my top 10 movies of all time is a Russian film. There's another one that's probably top 15. So I like a good international feature. If you've seen any of them, give me some recommendations. But we're going to slowly begin to wind things down. And as always, we're going to talk about the best actor and the best scene in the movie. Let's start with just the best actor. It's tough. This is really tough because it's hard not to just go with Ryo Yoshizawa, who plays Kikuo, the main character, because it's his movie. But I think I'm actually going to say Ryosei Yokohama, who plays Shunsuk, the adoptive brother. The performances there are so nuanced and so fascinating. And again, part of that is the writing, and a lot of that is actually just the performance. His individual journey throughout this movie is really, really interesting, and it works so well in relation to Kikuo. It's really, really good. I think I gotta give it to him. Although, of course, honorable mention, Ken Watanabe. Ken Watanabe is always amazing. He's incredible. Love that guy. If you don't know the name, you've definitely seen him. He was the guy who pretended to be Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins. He was Saito in Inception. Really a great actor. Absolutely amazing. He deserves all of the love and all of the awards. He's great. Now, to move on to the best scene, this was really, really difficult for me. It was so hard because there were so many great scenes. There were just so many. Like I mentioned, there were two or three where I almost started bawling in the theater. So it's hard not to go with one of those. But even that only kind of narrows it down. 2 or 3 is still a lot. In the end, I think I decided that the best scene in the movie is the second performance of Love Suicide, where Shunsuk is the main heroine and Kikuo is the leading man. Or he's not the leading. He's the primary male role. The performances there are so good. Shunsuk really, and by that I mean Ryusei, really gives it his all. And, you know, you've spent the entire time watching this movie assuming and learning and watching Kikuo become the greatest kabuki theater performer of all time. And so when Shunsuk puts his foot down and is like, I am going to play the main heroine, you sort of come at it with a little bit of trepidation where you're like, you're great, but why not the guy we know is the best in the country? But Shunsuk really nails it. It's really incredible, and there's a lot going on outside of the performance, which makes the scene much more meaningful. Shunsuk at this time is dealing with, I think, gangrene in his foot, and so they really have to support each other as they wander through the stage. And there's even a moment after they finish the one scene of the theater performance that we see twice. They go off stage and somebody is telling Kikuo that they need to stop. And he says, no, we're not doing that. And Shunsuk is like, you're damn right we're not. We're going to keep going. And it's so powerful. It's really well executed all the way across the board. And the cinematography of that scene, of the whole movie, but in that scene, is just amazing. So yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and end it there. Let me know down below if you got a chance to see it, if you saw Kokuho. If you haven't seen it, are you interested in watching it? Have I talked it up enough? Or is this a situation where I'm just being dumb and the movie is actually bad? And so if you watch it, you're going to be disappointed. Who knows? You'll have to find out yourself, buckaroo. I obviously don't think it's that. I think the movie's tremendous, and I'm really glad that I went to go see it. I almost didn't, because I had to drive 2 hours to go see it at a 7:30 showing in Omaha, and then it was a 3-hour movie, and then I had to drive 2 hours back. So there was a part early on before I really knew what I was in for where I was questioning whether this was a wise decision. But about 15 minutes into the movie, I knew that I would have been mad if I had not seen this in theaters and then watched it on streaming later. It was great. I can't recommend it enough. But we're going to go ahead and leave it there. So make sure, again, that you like and subscribe for more nerd content and commentary. And we'll see you guys next week to talk more about all things